Just so I know that you know what's the trend, Josh.
To the right. It's up.
Okay, it's up, but guess what? We're also at
a major hourly resistance.
Exactly. So this is the time when I do need to look at the hour because I have no more bars to give me direction as to what's happening. And wow, nothing on the hour. So that's kind of a little bit scary. Nothing on the 4 hour. Wow. So you got to go back to the day chart to find another level. That means we're in a major outside range. Finally found some data. All right. So yeah, we're in a major outside range. Our next point is not for what? 70 pips on the high. And so that's always fun. It really is. It's not that when you're dealing with this stuff right here, it could run. Obviously, you got this point right here, which I think I'm going to draw on the chart. You got that point that if it crosses, it has no more support and resistance. So it will create it. You just don't know. You don't, you're kind of flying blind, right? And so it's kind of difficult to know, but you just don't want to be on the wrong side of if it decides to run, right? So trade light on the sells, and in this area, if you're going to sell, you take any sells, probably look. I trust sells a little bit more than I trust buys, not saying that the market's not going to continue to move up. I just know where my support and resistance is on if it comes down. So hopefully we'll get some consolidation, but the market has proven not to do that. Market has definitely proven not to give us that, like all through this right here. No consolidation. And then you got a little bit right here, and it's got a little bit right here. So I would expect the market to do what we've done, what we've seen the past little bit, and that is if it breaks here, it could run down in a marching market. And if it breaks here, we could get it into a marching market. So I'm expecting a marching market at some point. The direction, I don't know, right? But we do have a lot of news coming in today, and it's not like big news. It's not big news, like nothing's red. But that news, if it's all the same, if it's all good for the dollar or all bad for the dollar, that could really create marching markets. So those are the things that I would be cognizant of and be taken into consideration today. So that being said, go ahead, Doug.
I was slow today. By this point, everyone around the world has had a chance to hear the news about the Powell stuff. Mm-hmm. So that first big push is America reacting, and then it bubbles along, and that second big push is Europe reacting on the London morning this morning. Mm-hmm. So by now, everyone's heard about it. Everyone's digested that news, so to speak. So down should be a fairly safe bet. Like if people haven't reacted to it yet, they're not going to react to it at all.
Right.
The reaction is already on the chart.
So you do have, but you still have new news coming into the market.
It's ISM manufacturing. Wow, what is it anyway?
Yeah. Didn't it all come out at 8:30?
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
I thought all the U.S. news came out at 8:30.
No, we have a speech coming up in 22 minutes. So at 7, they're at top of the hour or half an hour. We got a speech, and then you have Canada news. You have Canada, but then you have a PMI, which is a little bigger.
Oops.
And
Yeah,
it's coming out.
am I looking at the right page? Thursday, December 1st?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, PMI coming out at 45.
Oh, yeah, okay. I am slow. Yeah, the red one is ISM.
Yeah, the red ones. Yeah.
Okay. And to answer the question, usually a lot of the bulk news comes out at 8:30 if it's non-farm or some of the inflation reports, but you can also have stuff come out at 10 Eastern time.
It's Thursday today. Wow, this week's flown by. Do you guys, everybody want to wake up early tomorrow and trade non-farm? You guys want to do that? I'll do that. If not,
I'll do it.
I'll be trading it anyway.
You want to do it? Why not?
all right, sounds good. We'll start then. We'll start a half hour early or an hour early.
Wait, are you going to wobble it? Because I do breakouts on it.
Oh no, I don't waddle it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, trading non-farm or major news events is completely different technique. All right, so we'll start an hour early tomorrow. Yeah, like Joseph says, I wobble to the coffee pot. Yes, that does count. That does count. Man, okay, I don't know if I'm afraid to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Josh, how long do you trade every day?
I try to stop after your session unless I'm down.
Okay.
But I usually give about 5 or 6 here, which I've been up for about 3 hours.
So you trade 4 or 5 hours a day, sometimes longer?
Yeah, different strategies, different accounts.
Oh, okay.
Different times.
How many accounts do you trade? And is that hard to manage?
At the same time, I don't manage it good at all. So hence different times. 3 right now.
Do you still enjoy it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Because I don't think I could do it that long every day.
Well, y'all made it like a video game. Everybody did. But then you get your little score at the bottom and it's color coded. And I like video games. So this is not good.
Okay, so you play games probably like I play. Are you a completionist? So there's 2 types of ways that people play games. Either they're a completionist.
Oh yeah, I have to get every single thing in the game.
Or they are
Fantasy,
or they are a let's beat it as fast as we can, a speed runner.
I have to get every single thing in the game.
That's me too. There's sometimes I cannot finish a game unless I get everything. I can't move forward. I can't in my progression unless I get everything in that area, because I know that if I move forward, I miss out on all that stuff.
Yeah, and if you go to like the walkthroughs online and they tell you if you don't get it now, then you'll never get it. Yeah. I will be there for 3 weeks trying to get that damn.
I cannot play multiplayer games with my son because he runs. He's a speed guy. I'm like, well, no, what's over here? What's behind here? It's a dead end, Dad. No, you don't know.
No, there's a wall. I could like break it.
Then I'm like, hey, you got all the loot. There's nothing left for me because you're slow, Dad. So that's kind of is like how you trade too, a little bit. You know what I mean? Like if you gamify something, yeah, for sure. You got to get that badge. You got to get that accomplishment, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I say if you make those badges, it's going to be a real problem for me.
That's why we're going to do it, just for you.
What's your favorite game? What do you play?
My favorite, like all time, has been Final Fantasy. Like they've got 15 or 16 out at this point.
Yeah,
they're very completionist. They're very hard. They're very pretty, and they've got great storylines.
Yeah. These are the games that have like 900 little things you have to chase down.
Yeah.
Like Legend of Zelda Puka Shells or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 908 of them. Or else you just can't sleep at night. Is that it?
My favorite game. Have you ever played Last of Us?
Heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's a PlayStation only game, but it finally came out on PC just not so long ago. But it's my favorite game. Like the storyline's just fun to play through. It's fun, and then they're making a movie on it. It's coming out next year on it, so everybody will hear about it once the movie hits. All right. So let's see if it wants to continue to climb all the way up to the top. I'm just looking at the chats. Yeah, like it says I play Alvia. Helicopter Ed, Sid Meier Civilization. I have a nephew that is addicted to that Civilization or that game. He plays it all the time for years, decades. I've never gotten into it though.
I played this in 1991.
Yeah,
It's my favorite game, I guess.
the Civilizations.
Yeah.
I have a problem with Civilization because I have to build all the wonders, and if some other civilization does it, I will nuke them. Not over anything political or property. No, they got an item.
Vote.
I need it.
So you always China or always Egypt?
If Josh ever runs for office,
if you like,
You don't want me president. Somebody build something somewhere, we're nuking them, we're taking it, and we're bringing it home.
Cool says he's stuck on Donkey Kong. Whatever. Cool's favorite game, I can tell you right now, is chess. He is a chess master. He plays that all the time, or would like to. He plays those speed chess games where you only have a minute to finish a game in chess.
Mm-hmm.
That's so tough for me.
Well, Civ is like chess, just like 1,000 hexagons instead of squares. You know?
I love the fact that we're talking games here.
Sure.
And I don't like the fact that the market is not moving. That leads me to believe that at some point it probably will pop. I'm just not getting on the wrong side of a pop. Like, come on, what are we doing? We're in the evening now. It's not nighttime. Anybody trade last night? Yes, I mean, or yesterday, like the agent session.
Or just the afternoon with all that bouncing.
Yeah, I trade USD in the evenings.
I don't.
Is that where you got your big
it's-
win? Is that it?
I don't know unless it's moving, but it was moving yesterday for sure.
Yeah, I traded euro yen last night for about 0.15%.
Yeah, I traded that. Euro USD yesterday for, I don't know what it was, but I always tend to trade whenever so this time of year. So I like to watch like the Jazz games at night, and so I have the game on one monitor and trading on another, because then I don't really stare at the trading screen. But and sometimes that helps, because I find myself sometimes when I'm trading at the trading screen, I'll either think of, oh, it's going to do this or it's going to do that, and if I don't look at it, and then I just let it do its thing, and look over 10 minutes later and it's moved what I thought it was going to do. But if I look over like every minute, I'd be like, oh, it's not moving, I need to add more or kill this off, and because I don't want to get caught. So I just kind of tighten up my stops at night, and I go heavier because you get these type of movements, and this is what it feels like, where, well, you don't even get the 5 pip run. Sometimes you only get like 2 to 4 pips of of price cycles. And so I look for like these type of moves, like, not going for 20 pips, but moving from the bottom to the top here. And so if this, let's just say that this was like a 10 pip move, not a 20 pip move, because that's probably what you'd see at night. So a move like this was 10, and this would probably be like 4 or 5. I would come in and probably set my stop losses right here. And then I'd put my take profits right here, and I'd get in, and this would be maybe like a 6 pip move, something like that. And I'd have it be a 6 pip move. And sometimes this will take like an hour to move that direction, but I'll load up and I'll go heavy, heavier than I would for sure during the daytime when you get this stuff. But I'll load up, go heavy, and then because if it moves against me, it's going to move against me really slowly, generally speaking. And if it moves down to here, this could take another hour to move, right? So that's why I can manage a heavier position a lot easier, recover from it, all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, yesterday I'm in heavy, and it just popped up against me like 40 pips. I was like, oh, that's nice. So you do get that sometimes, occasionally.
Yeah, I was impressed yesterday with how you dug yourself out of that hole, Dave.
Yeah, it was luck. I mean, I didn't say lucky, but I would say I was grateful that it happened so fast that I had to didn't have to spend hours, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a couple pops. Because I was looking, because not a lot of times when I'm down like 2-3% on the day, it usually takes me twice as long to recover that it does to dig the hole. So I'm just thankful that I was able to get it in a couple pops and a couple moves. And I don't know if you guys saw it, if you guys have a chance, the trading session yesterday, I went in and recorded a recap, and I think I'm going to pull that out because the session was really long. So I wouldn't imagine that people are going to watch the 2 hours of the session of just me losing. So I went on and I recorded an intro and an outro of yesterday's session, just really quick, explaining what I saw, how I worked myself out of that hole, basically. And I think I'll cut it out and probably just make it its own video of how to recover trades. But if you do want to watch that, I did a review of the chart, all that kind of stuff. So speaking of types of traders and speaking of different types of traders and philosophies and all that kind of stuff, what type of trader are you when you're up? Are you I got my treasure, I'm going to hold it and not give it back to the market? Or are you, I'm playing with house money so I can swing deeper?
I'll trade smaller if I'm up, and I'll be a little more cautious.
Okay, so you're a little more. I'm out guarding what I got instead of I'm playing with house money. Woohoo! Let's go.
Yes. Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
Helicopter Ed. We'll call the people that hold it. We'll call it treasure holders.
Yeah, because the house usually gets its money back.
That's true. That's true.
If you stay long enough.
So I've definitely have flipped. In fact, I probably should take another. But it's been probably a decade since the last time I took an investor profile. And I probably should retake that because I've definitely flip-flopped my way I view the market. I used to be I'm up, now I can get aggressive. Then I was a treasure holder, and now I'm a market taker. So whatever the market gives me, I take, right? And so I don't really concern myself so much about where I'm at on the day, because where you're at on the day, yeah, you know what? I'm up 9% today. Tomorrow might be down 5%. Do you know what I mean? And so if you trade scared on the days that you're down, like I was down 3% yesterday, and I was like sitting on my hands for a high value opportunity, but I wasn't scared to place a trade. But if you're not used to hitting, like I oh man, who was it yesterday? I can't remember, but their goal was to only hit 0.3 in the market, and that was their goal. And that's great, and that's fine. That's where you're at in your trading evolution. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just there's nothing wrong with viewing the market as a treasure holder or getting aggressive. You just got to know. And I learned that principle one day when I was actually talking with Ron and kind of going over the fund with him, and had the opportunity to do that. And I was like, what do you look at? I'm asking Ron, because I wanted to know, like, what makes a good trader, right? What do you look at to give people more money, and when it becomes Ron's decision, right? So when you get funded, and usually up to about $20,000 is not necessarily Ron's decision, although it ultimately is the risk manager's decision. But you kind of have a path or a gateway that Sean says, we're going to do this every single time a person does this. If they hit this, we'll give them more money, and we'll give them more money up to 20,000. Then when they hit 20,000, then it really does become Ron kind of starts looking at, and it's his discretion as to how much he's going to, the risk manager is going to allocate. Right. And so I sat down, I'm like, well, what do you look at? Is it somebody that has a good equity curve? Is it somebody that has a good expectancy? Is it somebody that has more wins than losses? What is the kind of the secret sauce there? And his response at the time, because I was thinking, expectancy, wins and losses, growing the account. At the time, he was just like, no, it doesn't really matter how much you grow. Like, I was thinking, you know what, if I can come in and as a trader, and if I make the fund, $10,000 a month, then they're going to want to give me more money. Right. And that just wasn't how Ron looks at the market. He just looks at consistency. So whether your equity curve looks like this, or like this, which is probably mine, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you can draw a trend line, and that trend line's going up, right? It doesn't matter to him. So if you're used to hitting 1% every single day, or you're used to hitting, or your goal is to hit 0.03, you're going to be eligible for a fund increase just the same, right? I think the people that swing for the fences, and I used to be one of them for sure. Those people are doing it because they want to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make money. And that's what we're all here for. But there is something fundamentally wrong if you continually get yourself into a position that you give the market back everything that you've made. And if you continue to do that over and over and over again, and trust me, I mean, I've done it. If you haven't done it, you'll do it. And you need to experience it. And it's so difficult. I was, talking with Sean, and unfortunately, my Pop's on here. Pops, are you on here? Yeah, he's on here. I don't know if he's listening, but he just did it. And the number one thing that I will say, you hear, Pops? You listening to this?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
The number one thing that I will say to you that I'm giving you kudos for and I'm appreciating is that you did it, you shared it, and then you came back the next day to trade. A lot of people that have what I would deem a catastrophic loss either do one of two things. Well, they never share it with public. And then they usually step away from trading for a while. Right? I've been there, done that, right? Like I'm done trading. I can never get a hold of this. And I'm throwing in the towel. And I've done that so many times in my 12 years of 13 plus years. I don't remember how long I've been trading. I've taken breaks because I've taken losses. And I've taken a catastrophic loss in my life where I have felt it to be catastrophic, right? That's really an intrinsic word. You know, I've never taken a catastrophic loss like Sean's taken. I don't know if he's shared the story, but he's definitely shared it publicly. But he was in some trades and he was in heavy and he was in really heavy and he had to get on a plane and he couldn't get out of his trades. And he was sitting there on the plane and it was coming, sir, you need to close your laptop. He's like, I can't right now. Sir, you need to close your laptop. The plane can't take off unless you close your laptop. I can't. Do you realize? And he's like, I could buy the plane. And, you know, talking about, and then he had to close his laptop. Talk about a really crappy plane ride. You don't want to be sitting on that plane ride, right? So then, of course, you know, that was the day he had a catastrophic loss because he couldn't manage. He couldn't work his way out of it. You know, he was all of his money. Let's just put it that way. See, so all of his money that he had in the market, he'd lost at that point. And at that point, he was newly married, had a kid, you know, decided to tell his wife that I'm going to be a trader full time. And was that first step that he was trading full time, and had to tell his wife that he lost it all and decided he's never going to trade again a day in his life. Right? Never ever going to trade another day in his life. Ended up taking a job that was not in trading, just to, you know, get food on the table type thing. And then he got offered a sales position at a trading company, and that's where he met Nate. So he shared that story publicly. That's where he met Nate. So for somebody that doesn't want to trade, he was selling, and he wasn't a very good sales guy. He's the first to admit it. He doesn't like selling. He hates selling products that have no value. And he felt like the company that was there had no value. So he asked if he could create a product at that company. And he wrote the manual to trade. They created all that. And then that company quickly realized, yeah, you suck at trading, but you'd be a good coach. And so, yeah, so he actually wrote a bunch of manuals for trading. And then, kind of the rest is history. Him and Nate decided to break off, and he wrote a EA or a robot or whatever that he sold.
Expert advisor?
Yeah, it was a robot that he sold.
For $99?
No, he sold it to Charles Schwab for a lot of money. So that bankrolled the first fund, if you will, apiary fund. And so that's what bankrolled that, is the money he sold to Charles Schwab. Gave him enough money to start apiary fund and not have to look back. So that's when the Apiary Fund was kind of started, was on the back of that. And then I don't know if you guys have ever heard the story where, we used to tell this story all the time to new Apiary Fund. The story where he was asked to go to China and he flew out to China, and he went to China to investigate for a law firm of a prop firm company out there. And I used to tell this story like every single day because it was part of our marketing pitch in our webinars. So he went out there, he flew out to China to investigate, but the story that we don't share, that I'll share a little bit, and that he shares, is that Jeff Crystal, those of you guys who know him, he's an instructor that's been with us since day one, was actually supposed to go out there, and he didn't want to, and so he asked Sean to go in his place. And so Jeff's like, I don't want to go out there. I don't want to be an expert witness. I'm like, you would do better at this than I would. And so he went in his place, and I don't know. I'm only trying to share the stuff that he shares publicly. So I'm separating, giving you guys the public version of that story. But I think he would share this with you guys. I think he has shared it publicly, but it's a funny story. And it's kind of, so Sean, kind of, young, still in his 20s, young to the industry, but he's gone to his school, kind of sold, maybe he's not in his 20s. I think he's in his 30s, but still a younger guy, right? And so he's a really religious guy, if you guys don't know this. I mean, he used to be like a bishop in the church. And
the bishop or missionary?
Yeah, both. So he, in his younger days, he was a missionary. And so he's like a bishop at this point, right? And he's flying out to China. And he gets a knock on the door in the middle of the night. And it's his greeting gift, and it's a geisha, and he had no idea what that is. and he doesn't speak the language, and she just shows up, and she's in his room, and she's just sitting there, and he calls Jeff, and he's like, what do I do? What's going on? There's this woman that's sitting in my room. And so he has to, and so Jeff's like, oh, no, that's customary. That's what they do. That, they're not trying to, that's just what they do. Right. And so it's kind of, they're trying to be nice. And so Jeff had to call the people and say, no, he's, he doesn't drink. He doesn't do any of that stuff. And they're like, no, we don't trust him. He doesn't drink. But he wasn't hired by them. He was hired by a US company to investigate them. And so they were trying to put all their best foot forward in their investigation. So they were offering him all this stuff, and he was just like so awkward. And then, Sean, it's so funny to get him in embarrassing situations. It's so funny. We were in Dallas for a thing, and this drunk lady comes up to him, and he's wearing his bowler hat, and it's St. Patrick's Day. And this drunk lady walks up to him and squeezes his cheeks and goes, "Oh, my little leprechaun!" Starts rubbing it. Yeah. And he's just like so red, beet red, and say, "My little leprechaun, can I get a wish?" And I was just dying laughing as I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I wish I would have had my camera because he was so red. But anyway, so long story short, he looked at the books, looked at it, and decided, hey, there's nothing wrong here. And he noticed, which was really kind of crazy, that every single one of the traders in that office building were younger, right? They were like in their 20s. And he also noticed that the parking lot wasn't full of bikes; it was full of cars. And in that industry, in that area, everybody was bikes. Nobody had cars. And so he noticed that there was a lot of money going through and people were getting paid a lot of money. And so he was like, well, how is this? How are you guys able to make all this money with, little limited to zero experienced traders? And they kind of opened up the books and shared that they teach people how to trade and they give them a share of the profits. And he really, really loved that model. He came back to the States, couldn't find anybody that was doing that model. And then him and Nate decided, well, let's do it. And if nobody's doing it, let's be the ones that do it, right? And then they had the napkin plan where they met, they drew everything on a napkin, drew it all out on a napkin, and they went to town. And about 6 months later, after they officially launched, they found me. And I was working for another company at the time, running the sales department there for, you guys may know of it, but it was a sales company, and I was running the department for their client that they had was called Rosetta Stone, right back in the early days. And
Rosetta Stone.
Yeah, and so so I was there, and then I was in comes Sean trying to hire my company that I was working for at the time to manage his sales department, because Sean doesn't really know how to sell, and to bring on new clients and to kind of manage that and farm that piece out. And then they came to me because I was to manage this new account and to grow it. And so I was kind of doing both at the time. Hired a team of sales guys, started doing it, and Sean didn't know how to crack the code. I didn't know how to crack the code. I never placed a trade in my life. I just knew that I could sell it and market it. And it took me probably about 3 months, really, honestly, to figure out how to crack the code and how to give somebody because nobody at the time, if I walked up to you and I said, hey, Cliff, I'm going to give you my money to trade and we're going to share the profits. And all you're going to have to do is pay a monthly fee. At the time, people were like, this is too good to be true. It's a scam, right? And that's what I was up against. It's too good to be true. Why would you give me your money to trade the markets? And that's what I was hit with, because the industry had not, coming around full circle. Now you got prop firm companies all over the place, right? And so people were like, no, this is a scam. This is a scam. This is a scam. And so I quickly realized that I needed proof, right? And I needed people that could actually do it. And what better proof was it than, if I could do it, anybody could do it, because I'd never placed a trade in my life. So that's when I started learning how to trade. Jimmy, if you guys have seen him, know him, he was actually my sales manager. And so I've known him before Apiary. Then my company decided that they were going to farm out. They were going to close up shop in the US because they got bought out by an Indian company, and they were going to outsource all of our jobs to India. And so I said, you know what? Out of all of the jobs I love the most, I love Apiary Fund. And so I went to Sean one day because I knew the writing was on the wall. And I said, hey, what if I bring my team and work for you in-house? And I said, I don't, not work for you, but I'll have a business and it'll be my business and we'll do all this. And he's like, absolutely. I love that. So we talked on a Friday, and on a Monday, my entire team came over to his office and started working in his office, and the rest is history. And had to figure out how to sell a product that nobody heard of and nobody existed. And we spent a ton of money in education. Finally got it to the point where we're rocking and rolling. And now the conversation shifted from this is too good to be true to actually they're a legitimate company, but they're not going to fund you. And then that's when Trader on the Street was born, to show people that, you can actually trade, make money, earn money. That's the idea of Trader on the Street. And now we've come full circle. And with that, I'm about ready to launch a challenge that is kind of fun, because I was in the industry when nobody knew what prop firm was and they didn't trust it. And now I'm launching a challenge that I believe everybody will participate in, and I won't have to sell it. Yeah, I'm kind of excited about it to see how well it takes off. And so is Sean, so it's just to see and how we can do it better. So it's kind of fun to just come full circle, how we were the pioneers of knocking down the door, pounding the pavement. And a lot of these companies that we see out there have been with Apiary Fund at some point. I don't know if you guys know this, but the 5%ers, one of their guys was an old apiary guy. Day Trade My Money company that's here in Utah, and I don't know if you guys have seen them, but they're like a multi-level trading company. They were an apiary guy, like full on funded apiary, and they learned from us, and I think it's awesome that Sean's had that influence in the market. I really do, right? The one thing that Sean has always done with apiary, to his demise, I think, and he's struggled more than these other companies that have taken off, is that he is never a believer in charging an exorbitant amount of money. Like, he's never charged $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 like some other companies have to get education, right?
Yeah, Online Trading Academy was that way.
Yeah. Are they still that way? I mean, they're one of the very few companies that has been around and continue to be around. A lot of these other companies that have charged that amount of money have usually gotten in trouble because with the government, or gotten shut down because they're all complaint driven. And it's so hard to really fulfill. It's really hard to fulfill somebody's expectation when they give you 20 grand, and it's really on them. Ultimately, if you give me 20 grand to teach you how to trade, it's still, I'm teaching you how to trade. And you could come back 6 months later and say, I gave you 20 grand and you didn't teach me how to trade. And I could come back and say, well, you didn't learn. I was teaching you, but you didn't learn. And it's so easy when you are dealing with 20, 30, 40 grand to point a finger. And so it's so those companies tend to come in, gobble up money, and then get shut down because of complaints, right? But OTA has not done that, and I don't know their story. So obviously they've either adapted, overcome, or they're really good at fulfilling. So, but I don't know their story, so I can't speak to it for sure.
Well, they had a huge FTC settlement against them last couple of years there.
But I gotta be like, they've had change, they've have adapted, because they're still around, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Are they still? Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it. Are they still charging an exorbitant amount of money? I mean, like they used to, or have they backed down from that?
That's where I started out.
An OTA.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never taken anybody's education. I mean, I'm be full transparency. I've never done anybody's education unless I was learning how they were marketing. So I was hacking their marketing funnel. I would buy their education to learn how they were marketing. And if I saw somebody that was just like doing really good and pulling in a lot of people, I would buy their education to learn their marketing funnels. And that's the lens that I do. Right. So, never thought in a million years that I'd be teaching people how to trade. I always, because my skill set is not trading. It's marketing, right? It's not selling, but it's figuring out how to take a product and market it. And so, so that kind of my story during COVID. When COVID hit, trading was down, and obviously everybody was taking a hiatus. Sean was like, "Hey, we're gonna shift and pivot. I still wasn't good enough to, in 2020 to be like, okay, I'm going to try and make some money. I did, definitely made money, but nothing to like live on or all that kind of stuff. So it's like trading was something I was still doing, but just not comfortable going full time. And so Cool, his business took off because of COVID, and he came knocking on my door and said, this Amazon thing's taken off because everybody's online now. And he's like, I don't know how to, he's like, I did it for myself. I'd done it for a couple family members, but how do I turn it into a business? Right. And so during COVID, I had the opportunity to help Cool and grow his business from a handful of clients to a bunch of clients. And so that kind of put my resources and energy into that as I was trading, and I was still teaching the wobble crew, but that's about all I was doing, and just trading a little bit here and there. And then the beginning of the year, Cool's like, hey, teach me how to trade. I'm like, well, join the wobble crew. Because I'm not going to teach you one-on-one. And Cool's like, I already know how to trade. And he's like, okay, well, I'll get you into account. He got funded actually really quickly. And then I quickly realized at the beginning of this year that I actually loved teaching, like not just doing the wobble crew, because I'm going to be honest, I was told to teach the same thing every single class. And I have a hard time doing that and teaching the same thing every single class, because I don't think you guys get value out of it, nor do I get value out of it. And I don't want to just do the same presentation every single team. So I don't know if that's what other people do out there. All right. I don't know if that's what like other crew captains do. And I do see the value in it for new traders coming on. Because they're like, what's a wobble? How do I wobble? All right. So now we're kind of in the news right here, or it popped up. So now what I got to do is I got to take these layers and get out of these layers. So got to kind of go a little bit heavier, but I've been trading super light this whole time. But this is what I do. And in fact, the challenge today that I'm going to tell you guys to do, the challenge is, well, I'll get to that, but in a second. Okay. So this layer stack has to make me enough money to be breaking even down to here. I'm just going to run down to there. So I'm looking just to build into it, get in early for the turn, and then build into the turn. So, and I don't know if I have enough meat on the bone just yet to do that. So it's just, I'm not going to put I'm not going to go all in on this turn until it happens, because we have no data to know where it's going to turn. I'm a lot more confident trading in something like this than I am trading in something like this. So if I was into this, I would make this layers. If this was a support area or resistance area, I would go a lot heavier here than I am. But I'm not. So it could, like I said, it could turn into a marching market on me. And if it does decide to go one more price cycle higher, I'm going to exit out of my trades and play the marching game, the marching market. Nick, thank you. It'll help me. The news will help me. Yeah, I could see the ride the wave for sure. Started. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. That's why I'll flip my positions here. But I'm putting a layer here, and what I need right now is I don't need much. I just need it to cross that. If it fails to cross that, I might just get out of everything, because it's gonna fail. I trust that. I might just kind of get out of everything and restart. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Now I'm gonna just look for buys. So now I'm fixing my trades on buys because it failed to make it came down 50% of here, fell of this candle right here, failed to move any lower or stalled. That means it probably is going to move higher. And if it moves higher, it could break this and run up a little bit. So my natural tendency, the way the style I like to trade is kind of similar to Sean, and it's kind of weird in kind of a psychological sense of the word, where I like getting in heavier before the turn, and I tend to get lighter after the confirmation. It's weird, but I'm like more aggressive, like on the sells right here, right? I'm more aggressive because I'm like, okay, it's going to turn. But then once it turns, I tend to not put trades and build. So I'm more of a counter, like waiting for that turn. I build into a position, waiting. And then when it finally does turn, I don't usually add to that after confirmation. But I'm okay to keep continuing to add until it does turn. And it's just probably the market has taught me that I make more money doing it that way. And more often than not, when it does turn, it turns fairly quickly and doesn't give you an opportunity to get in a lot of the times. Meaning that if it continues to come down and I'm buying, and then all of a sudden, oh, it does pop, and it pops all the way up to maybe even here, I'm not buying. You know, the rules say don't buy if it pops. The rules say to sell if that's a big candle. And so you generally don't get, when it turns, you generally don't get a little bit of a turn. And if it is a little bit of a turn, I don't trust it. I have trust issues. And then when you get a confirmation of that turn, it generally doesn't just slowly go back the other way. It generally goes back the other way and gobbles up any opportunity that you had on the confirmation. So I'd rather build into a position when I get that turn, then it gets that pop. And that's probably the best way to describe it, is that the market has taught me that you generally, when you see that turn, the opportunity to get in doesn't really show itself as often as we're getting in early. All right. Kind of took you guys down history lesson, a little bit of, you know, the where we're at, full circle. I think it wasn't, you know, for me, you know, I was helping Cool, still help Cool on the Amazon side. He's great. He's so good at finding a product, getting a product, and making money on that product, and still kind of help him manage the clients a little bit here and there. But since I've been doing this, I've kind of put him, he's kind of created an auto where he's just like, we've built it for a couple of years, and now he's just managing it and maintaining it. Got a bunch of, at peak, we had like, Cool still here. Yeah, probably a couple hundred employees.
You can go ahead and just keep on, stroking my ego there. Keep going.
Oh, okay, sorry. And now I know Cool's on here, guys. Don't use him.
Whatever he said, I support it.
Just kidding. I mean, at peak, how many employees did we have at peak?
Oh gosh, I think at the peak we had about 75, 80.
Yeah. And then we built that pretty quick, just since 2020. Hold on, I'm gonna let my dog out real quick.
Yeah.
I thought you were doing real estate.
No, I dabbled in real estate. I mean, I think the older you get, the more you dabbled in a lot of things. But I think sometimes you try to become a jack of all trade, and as they say, you wind up to be a master of none. Right? It's almost impossible to get good at everything. I think you just find some of the things that you like, and honestly, I don't like. I had a mortgage business. I was very successful. That's how I met Dave back in the day. But I mean, we all know what happened in 2008, 2010. I definitely was in the mortgage because of money. It was easy money.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't because I liked mortgages.
Yeah, same here. There's the golden handcuffs that kept me in as a 20-year-old. Where else could you go as a 20-year-old?
News in a minute.
Thank you. Where else could you go? I was just newly married, had a kid. Where else could I go that I was making 10 grand a month? And the mortgage industry was it, right? Back in the
subprime days,
early 2000s, right? And I hated it as they shifted. It was so much shiftiness, so much fraud, going on. And you had to do it to compete, and I never did. And so people were making a lot more money than I was, for sure. News.
Fade that sucker.
Fade that sucker. That's a big sucker. Look at that pop. All right. It makes me nervous when it's not picking a direction, so it could easily go down as much as it goes up. Ah! So I'm just going to take it and see if I can get back in. I'm just going to go here for 3 pips. Oh, that was wrong. Oh, trying to catch that little fade down, little pop. This is kind of how I trade the news on a much smaller scale. Like it's trying to make a decision. Should I go higher? Or should I go lower? Right. Mm-hmm. So tomorrow when we trade non-farm, you'll see kind of something similar, although I won't have a take profit on. The only reason why I have a take profit on right now is because it's easier to recycle trades doing that. Where it comes down, hits the profit. Get you out.
Dave, that was a ISM number and it came in basically as expected.
All right, so that's why you had that lot of flickering, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go back to ride the wave situation here. And we'll see if that if that can't be catalyst just for another move higher. What's the most pips you guys have ever gotten in a day? Because this is a pretty good pip count. I'm up to a pretty good pip count right now.
Man, I think
When did you get most of that, or what bet was it?
What's that?
When did you get most of it? Like what time was it?
During the Jazz game last night. So 7 to 10 in my time.
If Jazz win?
Yeah, finally. I've been on a little bit of a slump. They're just a fun team to watch because there's no superstars on their team, no egos. All right, so this is the thing. If it does break this right here, I'm probably going to get out of these trades. So I'm going a little heavy for pop up. Not heavy. I'm still really light. In my position, not even one whole lot here. Debbie's 1500, dude. That's awesome. 600, 200. So pips are all relative, right? And to your position size. So if you're
Nick, how many you lost in a day?
9,900 pips on gold. That is amazing because gold is definitely higher leveraged than anything else. That's awesome. That was probably a really good day and hobble wobble, especially if it was positive. Let's see. How'd you get 6,000 pips while watching the game? It wasn't all that, but the majority was for sure. But I reduced my position size and just started stacking in. And so like I'm saying, it's all relative to position size, right? So if you normally trade with a 0.10, 0.10, put 4 or 5 trades on per layer, and then you drop that down in the evening, I drop it down. I drop my position size down in the evening sometimes, or sometimes I'll increase it. Just depends. But yesterday the market was moving, so I dropped my position size down and I get in like, I'll do it right now. And that's kind of what my challenge was going to be today, is dropping the position size down, but putting more trades on. So I just dropped it from a 5 to a 2. And now I'm able to kind of take it every time that flutters. And I was trading with, I was taking profits. I was having to take profits on. I was magnetoing it. I was putting it into positions where I was just recycling 2 pips, 3 pips at a time. So I, and that's kind of the challenge. In fact, let's do that really quick. Let me kind of reset the challenge. Well, I'm gonna walk away from viewing the market. And this is what I do all the time. If I'm gonna walk away from looking at the market to do something, I'm gonna set my stop losses to where I don't want to. I'm going to give me a little bit of a leeway. So it has to break this, has to come down and touch that. And then I'm going to take my take